connaît l'existence, on ne peut pas avoir de problème. We'll keep a distance, please. 2 meters, we'll be repeating this. We're in the red zone. Merci.
They don't care, by the way. They don't care.
Bonjour tout le monde. Hello everyone. Thank you all for coming today. Mon nom est Jessica Quijano. Je travaille pour le foyer des femmes autochtones et fais partie de la coalition pour le définancement de la police. Aujourd'hui, on fait cette manifestation en solidarité pour la coalition Justice pour les victimes de bavures policières. So my name is Jessica Quijano. I work for the Native Women's Shelter, and Native Women's Shelter is part of the coalition to defund the police. And today we are holding this rally in solidarity for justice for victims of police killings. So thank you very much. Avant qu'on commence, j'aimerais acknowledge that we are in the Njinjage and unceded Mohawk territory, so give up to our Mohawk brothers and sisters. On est sur des terres non cédées ici à Njinjage. I'd also like to say that it's been a very difficult week. We've been seeing brutality across the country, from the west coast to the east coast, from the Wet'suwet'en to the land back and Six Nations to the Mi'kmaq. On the East Coast and the fisheries. It's been absolutely awful to witness what has been happening across this country, and this is one of the reasons why we are as well holding this rally. It's also been really painful, and I'd like to also, there was a decision for Abdi Rahman Abdi, who I won't even say his name, the police officer was acquitted, and just to prove that when police kill unarmed black men and indigenous people, we don't see any justice. So thank you all for coming for this very important cause. Like I said, I'm part of Defund the Police, one of the coalition Defund the Police. Alors, une des choses qu'on demande à la coalition pour le définancement de la police, c'est de désarmer la police immédiatement pour qu'on ait plus ces rassemblements. C'est vraiment très très urgent qu'on fait agir maintenant. On demande à la SPVM de définancer la police par 50% et c'est beaucoup pour réinvestir dans nos communautés. So we're asking that the SPVM defund the police by 50% and reinvest in our communities so that we can prevent a lot of the issues that we see and that we no longer have people die at the hands of police. We need to move from a model of criminalization to care. I think that, a lot of times we have been talking about how, what does it mean to defund the police? And a lot of, we get a lot of questions. I think the coalition, we are up to 52 organizations. We've all been working for a very long time in reform, in trying to reform the police, and we know it doesn't work. And we don't have all the answers right away, but I know that we can do better. And this is all part of changing a consciousness in our society. It's so ingrained how we respond to social problems by punishing and criminalizing people that we really need to move beyond that. So today I'm not going to take too much time because we have some great speakers, and we really want to march to honor the lives of people who have lost their lives to police killings. But what I would say is, if you can educate people around you and start talking about different ways that we can maybe envision our world. So it's really envisioning a world where we no longer punish people for living in poverty, punish people for dealing with issues of addiction, And, you know, when people are suffering mental health crisis, that we aren't criminalizing them and coming with armed police officers. So this is why we're the Coalition Defund the Police. That's why we're in solidarity with Justice for Police Killings. And I'm going to begin by introducing one of our next speakers. Alors, merci tous. On va commencer par, pour Sandra Wesley, qui de Stella. Sandra is Stella's one of the members of the Coalition Defund the Police. Ils font partie de ça. I'm very honored to work with Sandra, who fights relentlessly for sex workers here in Montreal. So I'll pass it over to her. Merci.
Hi everyone, thank you for coming. Merci d'être venu en grand nombre aujourd'hui. On vit dans une société où on a de l'argent infini pour envoyer des policiers se faire passer pour des clients puis nous attendre dans des chambres d'hôtel pour nous questionner. On a de l'argent infini pour avoir 10, 20, 30 policiers envahir nos salons de massage, nos bars de danseuses, nos autres endroits. On a de l'argent infini pour créer des databases sur tous les jeunes hommes noirs de notre ville et toutes les personnes qui consomment des drogues. Mais on n'a pas d'argent pour nos écoles, on n'a pas d'argent pour nos organismes communautaires, on n'a même pas d'argent pour réparer les trous dans les rues de Montréal, mais on priorise toujours le budget du SPVM qui grandit année après année après année. We don't have money apparently for housing or even to get bed bugs out of our shelters. We don't have money to provide health care for undocumented migrants. We don't have money to do any of the transformative justice programs that we want to do. But we do have money to pay massive pensions to thousands of police officers, to put people who killed people on paid leave for years while we investigate and then just reintegrate them in their old jobs without any consequence. It's not fair. It's not the priority that we have as a population of Montreal for our budget. Des milliers de Montréalais se sont mobilisés cet été pour demander à la ville dans sa consultation de couper le budget du SPVM. On ne demande même pas une coupure de 100%, on demande juste 50%. Moi, je pense que c'est possible de faire ça dès cette année, dès le budget du SPVM, but we have to stay mobilized. We have to put pressure on our elected officials. We have to make this message heard. We have to mobilize our schools to make sure that they stop allowing cops to come and give propaganda to our children. We have to stay mobilized, and I'm counting on every single person who is here, who wants to be in solidarity with our Black communities, with our Indigenous communities, with our homeless communities, with people who are using drugs, who are dying right now. We're in the middle of one of the biggest waves of overdoses we've ever seen, and we know it's going to keep getting worse. And instead of giving safe supplies to people who use drugs, we're paying cops millions of dollars to seize drugs, to investigate, to do repression, and to send people to jail. This needs to end, and it needs to end now. 2020 has been a garbage year, but we can end it with some meaningful change, and we can make sure that the SPVM does not continue with total impunity like it has been. So sex workers are here to defend our own rights, but also in solidarity with everyone else who experiences criminalization, marginalization, over-surveillance, and under-protection. We're tired of violence, we're tired of being used as pawns to target Black men, to target racialized communities. We won't stand for it, and we ask you to stand with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sandra. Always brings it. Thank you so much. Alors, la prochaine personne qu'on va entendre, c'est Frankie Lambert de l'APSUD, l'Association québécoise pour personnes utilisatrices de drogue. So, give it up for Frankie.
Hello everyone, my name is Frankie D. Lambert. I'm a Black trans drug user. I'm coming out to you all today bearing those labels, despite my concerns, and hope that one day people will be able to wear them proudly without fear of being judged, arrested, brutalized, ostracized, and shamed. Being visibly black and trans is part of my identity as well as being part of multiple marginalized groups. That being said, I'm here to remind you all that I'm much more than that. Behind all these labels stands a human being with hopes and dreams just like you. I'm standing here today as a reminder that every black people, drug users, sex worker, and other marginalized folks are human, who are deserving of love, community, and respect. I'm standing here today because the police and their equivalent have been threatening, bullying, punishing, and murdering marginalized groups for far too long. Poverty, drug addiction, sex work, homelessness, these are crimes. Being black and indigenous is not a crime. Our existence is not a crime. We deserve to thrive, not just to survive. Which brings me to my demands. I'm here to demand for the police to be defunded and for the funds to be invested in Montreal's communities. I demand a commitment to long-term action plan and collective race-related data. And finally, I demand the decriminalization of all drugs, sex work, HIV status, eliminate the SPVM drug squad, morality squad, Eclipse squad, and all the other units targeting marginalized communities. As well as the proactive surveillance program and release and expunge of all criminal record for drugs and sex work charge. No justice, no peace. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, Frankie. Alors, maintenez votre distance, 2 meter distance, please. So our next speaker, super pleased that she accepted to speak. Isa. Woo! Give it up for Isa, next speaker. Thank you, Jessica.
Thanks everyone for coming out. This is such an important cause. I want to take my speaking time just to mention and talk about systemic racism, because I think a lot of the issues we're seeing with police violence are not isolated incidents, but part of a systemic issue. So if you'll indulge me. It is necessary to understand and name systemic racism in order for it to be effectively addressed. You cannot begin to act on a solution if you cannot even finish saying the problem's name. The finer sociological points of how racism is perpetuated by individuals is less important than the realization that it is institutionally generated and in some cases sponsored. And as such, there is a level of accountability on the part of those leading institutions to effectively address the problem. Society is at its core a collection of human beings, of their goods, interests, and problems. Governing this loose admixture is power, which flares openly from time to time. One can sense where that power is located in society when one looks at which problems are being addressed and how swiftly. One can see it when you look at where goods are being funneled to and protected. The power imbalances are exposed when Black Canadians are denied mortgages and business loans, or when mental health interventions by police in white neighborhoods are conducted peaceably, or when white Canadians receive quicker medical attention at hospitals. Whatever the intellectual overlay you use to understand racism, the real victories will occur when this power dynamic is identified and extirpated. What I want to talk about is the provincial level. We have to push back against the cap and the go. A lot of these laws and policies are being implemented at the provincial level, and we have to show Quebec that there's no consensus. We're all out here, and we oppose. In October 2022, the cap will be put to a vote, and we all have to go out and show that we do not want the cap back. Okay, whatever policies we discuss in Montreal, it's getting decided at the provincial level. I want you to know and understand that. I'm from Ontario originally, and in Ontario we had what's called a common sense revolution, where my parents gutted the education system. We're going to have a common sense revolution here in Quebec. We're going to gut all of the institutions that oppress and harm cultural communities, people from marginalized backgrounds. That's common sense in Quebec today. We're going to redefine a low priority area, not as education, but as the SPVM. That's a low priority area. We're going to take that money and we're going to put it into schools. We're going to put it into communities that need it, into these marginalized communities that need services. That is the new common sense revolution, and we need to keep in the streets until it's realized. Thank you for coming today, and I'll be with you as long as you're with me.